Hey guys, I've got Pepper with me here, and we're gonna do all of the various adjustments to get everything squared away here. I like how I've been actually talking to Restream in hopes that they won't keep doing the messages from audience will display here, because that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Since it says them every time.
Well, I mean, there's worse things that you can have right there.
It's true. It's true. So there you go. Well, I think I've clicked all the buttons now. Everything is now up and moving, for better or for worse. I should actually probably screen capture this page too, so that I can. I'm trying to correct the backgrounds so that they all fit correctly in there. So I'm going to screen capture this too. So anyway, happy Friday, Pepper. How you doing?
I'm doing good, and we see that Brent is here.
Brent is with us. Hi, Brent.
Yep. I'm doing pretty good. This week has been a little bit less productive as far as personal work, but I got a really good 3 sketch card thing done this week that I really do like.
Oh, that's good.
So, and if you guys aren't following what I post on Instagram, which automatically goes to Facebook, it is one of the games that I'm working on called MetaZoo. I substituted 3 of their characters. So they have a character called Sewer Gator, and I substituted Sewer Gator for Godzilla.
That's fair. I would have.
Kong was substituted by their character White Thing.
Okay.
And Mothra was substituted by the Mothman.
Nice.
And then it's basically, if you see it, if you go online and see it, it's basically it's a cityscape that's been destroyed, and so I did that, and mainly just a lot of stuff. This week has been the doing taxes.
Yeah, that's what we did too.
Yeah.
We had to do taxes. No Jersey Devil.
Ah, yes. But I have drawn the Jersey Devil for MetaZoo in a sketch card before, and I just recently did a Colorado take on the Jersey Devil. So basically a Colorado Rocky variation of their Jersey Devil.
Does they make it a Colorado Devil?
I was thinking, yeah.
Okay.
I gave it ram horns.
That sounds fair.
Yeah. But no, they do have a Jersey Devil. It's a game based off of Cryptids. Their first print run is everything is from the United States or North America, I should say. So they have some Canada base.
So no Nessie.
No, they have Nessie.
Well, Nessie should come from though.
They have a Nessie.
Scotland.
It's called Chessie.
Well, Chessie's from a different place though. So Nessie would be
same thing.
Same critter.
It's the same like dinosaur family. So, but they definitely have they have Chessie, not Nessie. They have I'm trying to think. They have the Hide Behind, which is actually one of the cards I drew for them personally. Like I did that one. And then I've done a bunch of spell cards for them, and they're starting doing stuff with that. I mean, I'm kind of just like jumping right in with the whole art stuff because normally I talk and
I like the fact that you're like, I didn't do much this week except for this.
Oh, and I also mentioned I started a script for an anthology that I'm working with, which, you know.
Yeah, I was still struggling to just get back on the horse. The biggest problem I had was I had forgotten this thing. This is like the most important thing in my life. This is how I organize my days. and I had left it in the trunk of my car because it went with me to Texas, and then it came back, and then I left it in the trunk of my car, and then I kept just not knowing what I was supposed to do today, and I was like, why am I having a problem figuring? And then after like a few days, I was like, oh, I'm missing my clipboard. Where's my clipboard? I had to go out to the car and get it. And it was still in the trunk, just sitting there, staring at me. And so that took until that took way too long. I'm embarrassed about how long that took before I finally got the thing that makes me organized. So sadly, I didn't get very far today or this week at all. You know, I was trying, but I didn't. I did manage to get a pretty funny comic out for Nate, which I was actually pretty fond of. The joke was pretty clever because you know, I do a comic for him every month for his real estate company, for his real estate business. He's doing like these this how to buy and sell a home sort of thing, and he wants each chapter to start with a comic strip of two people trying to buy a house, and now we're in two people trying to sell a house. So last year was buy a house, this year is sell a house. So that's one of the strips that I'm doing from time to time. And I did manage to get that one out the door, and we're back on schedule with Nate now, which is good because we really were messed up. I tried to do as much as I could to push everything out of the way in February, but I stayed in Texas one extra week in March, longer than I expected. So I came back here, and so I was a week and a half late for all my March stuff. So that was an issue. So I did do a little bit of writing on Bellatrix Rising, but not a lot. Somebody's been posting on one of my Reddit feeds these beautiful pictures from BattleTech of spaceships and things like that. And I'm like, I kind of want to draw something like that for all the ship classes that I've got in my story, because I've built 3D models now of 3 of the major ships that we've got. And so I could at least draw cool orthographic pictures of the 3 first ships that we've got going, and of their mobile unit sort of space shuttle sort of rover thing. So that's cool.
So are we going to be seeing you drawing these out to make them look like the old style Patlabor, Macross?
Yeah, I was thinking
from the 80s.
So the pictures that I saw were of the BattleTech pictures, which was the ship sort of an ortho view, so kind of like it's a, you know, with the black square that only takes up part of it and has stars in it, which I think is kind of cool. That sort of, you know, it's got a black background, but they only cover like half the ship, you know, in the black background, so it looks really neat. You know, it's like an artistic sort of thing with the background on it. I kind of want to do that. So, more ship designs. Well, you know, Brent, it is who I am. I am who I am. It is what it is. And I like my starships. So, and mecha. I like that I've got the mecha thing. So I think I'll draw a couple of those by next week so that I can put them into the, I'm sorry?
Into orbit.
Into orbit.
Sorry, I couldn't resist.
No, it's all good. Into orbit's perfect. So,
I mean, I can't really complain. I am from Jupiter.
It is a thing. So, anyway, that's where kind of I am. I'm still. It's a lot easier. My kid went back to school last Wednesday, so it is a whole lot easier now for me to do to do work during the day and stuff like that, because I don't have him over there, and I'm not constantly saying, hey, are you listening to your teacher? Are you paying attention to class? You know, I'm unfortunately, I'm too much of an ADDer to be able to work and then, you know, are you listening? Okay. And get back to work. I can't. I end up concentrating on him and not concentrating on work. So we're kind of getting there on this. So,
well, I mean, I'm kind of happy to hear that the kiddos have started going back to in school learning.
Yeah, it's not it's not a guarantee for all of them, I think. But my kid was just not doing good in remote, so we're taking that. We're taking that as we just might as well do that. And my wife's gotten the vaccine, so we're 1/3 vaccinated in this household, so that's good.
Mm. Mm. So
Yeah.
when are you guys getting the rest of the household vaccinated?
Well, he won't ever get vaccinated at this point. And I mean, that's what they're looking like now. Kids haven't been tested, although apparently they're testing some kids now. So, they're putting them through trials. But so he may not ever get the vaccine. So, but I will get the vaccine as soon as the number. We're almost at where I can get the vaccine, because it's going to be starting today. It's 50 and older, and I'm 48. So the problem is I don't have any underlying health conditions, so I can't. I have to wait until that drops to 30 and over, or whatever is the next hack that they're headed for.
Yeah.
So, and Brent's kid is back in school too, which is cool.
Yes.
Well, it's very nice to not have the kid here and not have to ride herd on him.
No, I've talked to some of my friends who are parents, and I've talked to my siblings who are parents, and basically, from the consensus, is it really depends on the kid. One person, like one child, like she has two children. One child was like, "I'm all about this at school, at home at the same time. I love it." Her older child, however, no.
Yeah.
Not having it. Nope. Not having it at all. Nope. She basically, my friend, which is the mom in this case, had to basically like stay on top of the schoolwork and stuff like that. But with her working, and then, developed into the same issue that you were saying that you were having with Kai. So.
Yep. And that's the thing. I mean, we'll get there. Everybody has different parenting woes. My co-host Troy on Geek Tank, he has 3 kids, and he's having a complete mixed bag on who's working well from home and who isn't. And so they're all returning to school at some point for varying degrees. But he's been more locked down than we have.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to roll out,
Well, I just know that if I was a kid during this pandemic and I had to basically be sequestered at home to at-home learning, I don't think I would want to go back to school.
Yeah.
Like, at all. I would probably annoy the hell out of my mom.
Right.
Like, I probably no, because when I was a kid, it would have been my grandmother. So I don't think I would have too much of an issues if I went through this. Like, I have thought about this. Like, if I was a kid going through COVID pandemic things, like, yeah, my grandma would probably, like, we would have ended up at my grandmother's house so that my mom could like continue to work and not be distracted, and my grandmother probably would be the one like making sure we're doing our schoolwork and stuff like that. So
Sure.
It's one of those things of like, what would I do?
I
Anyways,
wonder how this would roll out.
yeah. So anyways, I did mention that the anthology that I was
Yes.
of the stuff that I'm doing. It is another cryptid-based thing I'm doing.
We all work in our fields.
Yeah, so I'm starting to find a theme with
Right.
some of this stuff. It's actually being placed. I was going to talk to you, but I might as well just talk to you right now about it. Basically, I think they're still looking for people. Obviously,
cards?
No, not for the cards.
Oh, this is the new thing?
This is for the anthology.
Mm.
Basically, the guy that that came up with this, his name is Scott O'Green, or Scott Green. I know him as Scott O'Green. He was one of my first followers that I didn't know personally on Instagram, and I've done a live Facebook video chat with him too. He and I were on this project for a group that we both belong to, and we had to do like basically a mashup of mythical creatures. But he came up with this thing called Fantastic Geographic, I think is what it's called, and came up with this host character that's like Steve Irwin, but for cryptids and monsters and supernatural beings and everything like that. So,
Brent, I think you rolled a natural one. I'm just saying.
Well, I mean, it looks like a -0,
right? Well, yeah. He says he dropped his dice holder on his keyboard, and I'm like, well, that rolled a fail, crit fail. Anyway, yes. So continue on.
So essentially, I guess for you, if you wanted to see about contributing, it's a 6-page comic. Pretty straightforward. You can make your own producer. You can have a cameraman and an audio man as part of this crew. Make it very, very skeletal. And you just have to make sure you have the host and at least one cryptid, I believe, or monster or supernatural being. And I do know that they don't want it located all in the United States. So if you wanted to do other things outside of the United States, you can.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's just like I said, it's just 6 pages. Right. And I can once we're done, I can basically create a chat so that you can meet Scott. So that if you're interested, I do know that I've done a few people I've like approached and was like, hey, do you want do you want to be a part of this? And but basically, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So I just figure there's no hard deadlines right now. It's all.
Well, if there's no hard deadlines, and I could be actually much more interested in it. I want to not take on any new projects until I've cleared all the old ones. I keep taking on projects and then not completing them, and that's one of my big. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Was Japan, something in Japan? That'd be kind of funny.
Yeah, I mean, so, I totally can see you doing one in Japan. And let's just say, like, there's an example. There's a Facebook page which has the sample comic that basically was in the anthology that me and him were both in. Mm-hmm. It's a 4-page comic, and trust me, it's funny. It's funny. It's campy. It's just, you can go a lot of different directions with it. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, you could do all kinds of cool stuff. I might be interested in that. Yeah. Especially if it's okay if I start it after I finish Airship 27, which is a big project that's been sort of looming.
So how far along have you gotten on that?
Airship 27. So I am literally on the last illustration. Literally. That's where we were when I got called to Texas. And then I've got to do the covers for it. But really, this is 2 weeks worth of work. So I just need to get to 2 weeks worth of work. So, if we can get there, it'll be better. Mm-hmm. So the problem is this last week has been chaotic. The week before it was chaotic, trying to get back in and settled in. So anyway, we'll get to that. It shouldn't take me but one show to finish illustration 8, and then maybe another couple of shows to kind of figure out what we're doing with the covers. So that's the battle plan. So 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops, we should be done with Airship 27. So, and then I've got to continue working for Fred. But that's such a big project that I'll be working on that one for the rest of the year, probably still. So I'm just going to keep sliding it in there, but it's easier now. Like I said, now that I don't have the kiddo here, it's a lot easier to do my work, get organized, stuff like that. I think I also was going to comment that though I didn't have my organizational thing, I think that my father being in the hospital has been a big stressor on me, and I don't think I've slept well all week. So
Yeah,
I've been.
I get it.
Yeah, I actually took ZQL last night and conked myself out, which was great because now I had a steady 7.3 hours of sleep. So almost 8 hours last night. And that was really good for me. I feel a whole lot better today.
Awesome.
And then, of course, Dad came through the surgery just fine. So that makes me feel a whole lot better as well. So we'll see, you know. So that's kind of a thing. I've been kind of hoping that maybe this will all do well and everything will be cool and my dad will go back to normal. It's funny because my dad just got 2 stents in his heart. That makes 5 now that are in his heart because he had 3 from before. And we've been sitting there going, oh, man, that's a lot. But I was hanging out with a cousin of mine who's upward cousin, not, level. So it would be my grandfather's sister's kid. And I was hanging out with him and his wife because we were seeing the aforementioned sister who's 90 this year.
Yeah.
And so we were visiting with her and and after we visit, I was talking to his wife and she's like, oh, I've got 34. And I'm like, 34 stents? She's like, yep. It's like railroad tracks in my heart. And I was like, wow. So apparently you can have 34. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So 5's not a big deal. I was just telling, I actually said that to Dad. I'm like, yeah, see, you're behind the curve.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't know how many my dad has in his own heart. I know he's gotten stents put in, but I only know of 3. But I've heard people like getting like 10 at a time sometimes or more, and it's just like, okay, but then
tracks through everything.
Yeah, but like it catch up. But I mean, it is something stressful because like you don't want to see your parents pass away. Obviously, you don't want to have them in the hospital and be like, in a predicament where you don't know exactly, and it's kind of a horrible feeling.
It really is.
Yeah, I mean, and as Bill just put it, Bill just said, "Been there, done that," But I'll be realistic. It's not a. I mean, once you get a full night's sleep and everything's good, then that's usually a better sign for mental health during it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm doing a whole lot better today than I have been since I got back. I feel like this is the first real day of let's get back to work, get cracking. By next week, that's another thing. I'm going to be reorganizing this work area because you can see I'm on this camera here and not on the Ring camera. I'm going to move this monitor up here above this monitor. I bought a wall-mounted VESA connector or whatever, so I can just plug put the monitor and then mount it to the wall right up here. And then I'm going to take this other monitor and mount it right here so that I've got 1, 2, 3 instead of what I've got now, which is 1, 2, 3. So that should make this a lot easier to access. This table here I can use for other things, and I'll just put my keyboard right here and stuff like that, and it'll be a little bit more organized. So that's coming in Tuesday, next Tuesday with my phasers. My phasers come in next Tuesday too. So, and the tractor beam, and Bill knows exactly what I'm talking about. So anyway, and you're like,
I'm pretty sure he's probably over there going, I'm kind of jealous you're getting phasers and tractor beams.
Yeah, Tuesday. I'm getting phasers and tractor beams next Tuesday.
Yeah.
So,
well, Bill, yeah, you're jealous of him, right? Or jealous?
Totally jealous. He's like, I'm playing WoW.
No, he's at work now. He's
Okay.
Like he was playing WoW.
Wow.
Now he's at work. When we started, he went into work as well. So
I don't start until 9.
So anyway, I'm going to be putting that here. That'll be cool. I think that'll help me a lot with this because I've been doing a lot of drawing and then talking on the show like this. Blah, 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 blah. So I'm trying to get it so that I'm no longer doing that, like trying to keep it so that my eyes are moving in the correct place. He's getting server rails. Why are you putting a frowny on there, Brent? Server rails sound awesome. I mean, especially for you. You're a computer dude. These things would be awesome.
I mean, Brent, I hate to say this, but we're still waiting on brackets for my husband's new computer setup. I mean,
yeah,
server rails. That's what Bill would probably want at this point.
Right. Server rails would be great. So I think that putting my other monitor here is going to be wonderful. I think putting this monitor here is going to be great. So that'll be nice, and it'll sort of change the dynamic of this little cubby that's right here that I've been building. But it'll be good, I think. So it's gonna be cool. I'll be happy. It'll be awesome and stuff like that. So that's what's going to happen this week. Hopefully we will have fixed a lot of little teeny problems that have been plaguing us. My wife's phone was so old that it just wasn't working anymore. So she had to go to the store and get a new phone. That's very, very cool. So reorganize. Oh, I see. So that's why the frowny is because you have to reorganize your server rack. I see.
Yeah.
It's
never a simple thing.
Right. It's never easy.
No.
It's never easy.
I mean, I think I have a disassembled partial thing going on.
Bill understands.
Wow. Yeah.
Like all of us are talking to Bill. We're talking right past you, Pepper.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm used to it at this point. Right? It's like, oh, you want to talk to Bill? Okay. Yeah, sure. I know I'm boring.
I'll just go cry now. Yeah.
I'll just go over and just start crying and doing artwork, and maybe my tears will infuse with the watercolors.
Right. And just make it into a massive thing.
And all of a sudden, and they will just come to life.
Oh man!
We'll just leap from the page. Currently,
now see, there's a cryptid story you could do.
Well, I think I think I'm not sure if it would be classified as a cryptid. I know supernatural because I know of like tales of like basically, like from R.L. Stein to a lot of different people. They use it kind of as like a horror trope or basically a scary story trope, where like things just come off the page of a drawing of an art book, like that you draw in. And I know R.L. Stein did one. I remember watching it. I remember reading it. I remember watching it as an episode of R.L. Stein as well. His show from the 90s, not the updated one. So.
Yep.
Yes, and blood, sweat, and tears, of course, for work.
Yep. I hate this, but I actually kind of like this idea, so I'm going to write it down.
Oh, I didn't want to actually say there was something else I wanted to talk to you about.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So someone apparently went back through my feed and found this character that basically he's like, hey, that looks like Atom Punk. And I'm like, okay, I know what steampunk is.
Oh, steampunk.
I know what steampunk is, but what's Atom Punk?
Oh, Atom Punk. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Atomic Punk?
Yeah. And I'm just like, I thought it was atomic punk. Like, you know, the atomic age type deal. But no, apparently it's called Atom Punk, or basically just atomic without the ick.
Right.
In front of punk.
Right. It's atomic without the ick.
Yeah, I know, right? So I did actually at the beginning of this week start that as well. It's I another short story. I don't know what I'm doing with these things.
Yeah,
think
well,
I'm just using
I
it as
love the different
procrastination.
punks because I actually one of the things I'm starting to kind of be attracted to is diesel punk, which is like World War One, right around the era of World War One ish punk. So some of that stuff is really cool. World War One, World War Two, that kind of era of diesel engines and stuff like that. But like walking mechs with diesel engines that are and smoke coming out, and they're just walking along. And I don't know why, but that's somehow suddenly very attractive to me. So I've thought about doing some diesel punk.
Yeah, so basically I was just like, all right, well, I always liked the golden age of sci-fi, like for comics and stuff. So I'm like, all right, let's do this. So I have like everything being based literally on the planet Jupiter.
Sounds perfectly reasonable to me.
Yeah, like people are living in Jupiter. That's what basically so golden age of comics, when they did this, like if people lived on other planets, didn't matter the atmosphere or anything. Everyone could live on every single planet. Didn't matter.
In 2002 and 2003, I did steampunk without knowing I was doing steampunk. So, it's all perfectly reasonable, I think, for us to kind of. I say that because Jupiter featured prominently in my steampunk story too.
Yeah.
So that's what reminded me of it. I didn't mean to derail you. I did.
No, it's fine. It's fine. No. Basically, like all of my stuff like doesn't even happen on the surface of Jupiter. So it's like so far I've actually only come up with like everything's in space. Takes place on the first stable Jupiter space station.
Okay.
Called Station X because it took them 10 times to get to this one. And then prior to that, they had a lunar station on Io. And if you know anything about Jupiter's moons, Io has a huge volcano activity type deal.
Sulfur volcanoes.
Yeah, and they basically like they thought that they had covered everything, but after a disaster, they lost they lost all the people that were in the station except for one, and basically that's where it's so my story takes like 2 years after that tragedy. They moved 20 families and many more people onto that station before the disaster hit. And all it was basically they forgot to calculate one thing, which was the gravitational pull of Jupiter with Io, and combined. So basically, caused like a crack in one of the shells that they had, and basically once they left the gravitational field, they had a sulfur volcano go off, and basically it literally destroyed everything.
I kind of had this thought all of a sudden while you were talking about all of that. I was thinking, wonder what a story would be like if it was steampunk, but suddenly realistic. Like you have steampunk because somebody invented magical snurgleblats that run these engines, and it allows them to get into space. And then once they get into space, suddenly it's real, like hard sci-fi space. Like they get up into space and the first thing they do is fall out of orbit and burn in the atmosphere, or something like that. It's like, well, we didn't expect that because in Victorian era, they had no idea,
No, well, I mean, Victorian era, they thought if you went up, you could just keep going.
Right. So, I mean, wouldn't that be interesting if you had a story where it starts out with Victorian era astronauts that suddenly had all of these, the reality of things just smack them in the face. Here they were just barely on the cusp of understanding anything. So they launch people into space and they immediately die because it's vacuum. It's hard vacuum. So everybody just dies and they don't know what happened. They don't know why they died. Everybody just comes back asphyxiated and dead. And it takes them some time to figure out why people are dying in vacuum. And then they figure that out. They make, bathyspheres. And then they finally launch them up there. And then, the people die again. And this time it's from radiation. And they're like, so like they keep having to like figure this stuff out. It almost would be like a great testament for how much science we had to do in the 40s and the 50s at like warp speed to get us to the point where we could stick people in space without them dying.
Yeah, stick people in in space in the 60s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And make them go to the moon.
I mean, where I grew up in Florida, like you could actually see the launches very clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, granted, we were not next to Cape Canaveral. I'm not saying that it's close to that. I'm just saying
no, because then I'd just be jealous, and it.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, I can get what you're saying. Like, honestly, like I'm like looking at the Atom Punk stuff, and I'm just like, some of this stuff still looks like it's from the power of like the steam power age, like the Victorian steam power stuff. And then other times, like I'm looking at it and it kind of looks like the revolutionary like way that people thought we were going to use nuclear power.
Mm-hmm.
So, like if you were to take like a steampunk Victorian technology style aesthetic with some of the stuff, it would blend pretty well.
Yeah.
Pretty well. The only reason why I wouldn't do it for the story I was talking about is mainly because everything takes place on another planet, so it doesn't necessarily have to be what we visualize on Earth.
Yeah. Well, that was what I was thinking about, because you were talking about in your story, you've got a base on Jupiter and things like that, which is when I think about these stories, they always start with the conceit of this is from the mindset of this group of people's era. So steampunk, you've got, like I did in my steampunk story when I drew that one in 2002, 2003, that had dragons flying around Jupiter. And so nobody went to Jupiter because of the dragons flying around, because they were dangerous. And the idea was that it was, a conceit. You concede that the world is whatever we perceived it as in 1880,
Yeah.
And so the conceit there is that. So that's what started this. You were talking about the volcanoes on Io. Of course, we didn't know there were volcanoes on Io in 1880. So if you write my story, Io is a moon, but maybe 17-foot tall Amazons live on it. We don't know. So
actually, I was thinking that would be more like a Callisto or Europa.
Yeah,
like
you know what I mean.
For me, Europa would be where like the Jupiter mermaids would be hanging
Jupiter
out.
Mermaids,
Totally.
And there's siren songs.
Yeah.
So they sing you to death there.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was thinking about that and I thought that's what made me think of this twist to the story is, they get out there thinking they're going to see the Amazon women on the moon, and they get to the moon and it's a dead, lifeless ball. There's no cheese there. When they finally make it to the moon, they're like, where's all the cheese? Oh,
I brought all these crackers.
I know. I was ready for moon cheese and I didn't get it. And they get to Jupiter, and Io is this hellish landscape of sulfur volcanoes exploding all over the place and spewing sulfur all over the place. And it's just like, this is hell, because that's where they're from that era. They'd be like, this is the embodiment of hell. It's sulfur everywhere,
Yeah. I mean, and before I continue, like I will touch base on like in the like when they're just going into the reasons why the person does what he does to the group of heroes. He does explain like why they were there initially. The sovereign of Jupiter, which is basically the kingdom, or basically the leadership,
Right.
they like to play a lot of games. They don't mind using people. So currently, when the story picks up, the story I'm telling picks up, they're actually using the sovereign's son as a pawn for the new station.
Right. Which that's cool. I mean, this is that's a cool concept.
Yeah. And then but basically they end up having to go back, and then they realize they put Io's lunar base smack dab where there should have not have been a volcano.
Mm-hmm.
And then it becomes a question of how did it really happen, and it doesn't seem normal.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
it's one of those things of, yeah, there's that. And the sovereign son is supposed to be the next sovereign too. So
that's cool. Yeah, I'd like to see that one come through.
Yeah. I'm writing scripts, so that's basically where I'm at. I have more scripts than I do art right now at this point.
I was noticing that. That's like the problem, isn't it? Now more scripts than art.
Yeah, I mean, but also at the same time, like I'm also thinking, like maybe I'll just get to a point where I'll take a script and then just send it to one of my art friends and go like, "Hey, are you busy? Take a look at this. Do you like it?" No, I have other things that I can do. I don't have to draw everything, and I can just partner up with someone.
Right.
The thing is I partnered with someone already early on in the pandemic, and I haven't finished that yet. So I do need to finish it. That's basically where I'm at with that. So I do want to. I do also want to point out that I got new glasses.
I like the glasses. They rock.
So, I got them after the show that we did. Oh, you want me to partner up with Guy? I don't know. Guy, didn't you just say that you possibly don't have any time for new work, right?
Well, yeah, but we've been doing this for a year. I feel like that we probably could partner up at some point in time in the future too. I don't think this is it. This is the last call, Pepper.
No.
So I actually think that wouldn't be a bad idea at some point in time. You and I working together on a project could be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Especially if we broadcast it, while we're working on it. That could be a lot of fun. So I'm actually that does kind of make me go, huh, that'd be kind of great, do a show about it and everything like that. That'd be kind of, so that's the thing.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I was like the entire time that I was like sitting there and coming up with these characters and stuff, like, I actually did go back and I was just like, all right, golden screen, golden era, like golden age of movie type deal. Like, what are some good names from this time period for like women and men and stuff like that? So, I'm just frustrated with my hair.
Yeah, I don't know. Might not be a bad idea for me to write a story and you to draw a story. I wonder if that would happen.
No, that could possibly work. I just need to sit down and actually do it.
Yeah, well, like I said.
So, but so basically,
wouldn't it be cool though? Also, if you think about it, like, one person writes the story and does the splashes, and the other person does the actual interior work or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
so like the splashes would be, so we would like agree on what a character looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that actually could be fun.
Well, maybe I should. How about I just tell you the names of these characters and see if they're enticing for you, and then we can just do this like kind of as a test run.
Well, you mean your
Adam? Well, the title's called Adam Punk Jupiter, so That's where it is.
Adam Jupiter.
Yeah. So I have the characters Captain Theodosa or Theta, Titania. Chimpy the monkey, a descendant of Earth's USA space monkey Albert II, and he has been outfitted with tech and has evolved to be a great second officer on the crew. And then you have Cadet Errol Ernest, which is the sovereign of Jupiter's son, and he's being kind of used as a political favor.
Oh, okay.
Type deal. And then you have Cadet Jane Jones. She is mixed feelings. She was assigned. They're not sure. She's just not sure of like why she's there. And then you have the antagonist, Adrian Armstrong, the Mad Rouge.
So when we say when we say Atom Punk, we're thinking like Buck Rogers, the original 30s Buck Rogers.
Yes.
In that era.
Yeah.
There is a very specific aesthetic.
Think the space race of the golden age of comics.
Right.
Think
Right.
Buck Rogers.
The thing that I love about Elon Musk and SpaceX is he's been making Buck Rogers come real. It's such a wild thing to see. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's some of those Buck Rogers designs and stuff like that, like the spaceships and everything that you see from that time period. They're all aerodynamically. They look like they work.
Yeah.
As far as launching them, that's where you get, okay, so how much fuel really does it take to get this thing in the air?
Yeah, well, that is definitely something that I have been seeing Elon Musk chase down, especially with the Starship program. His Starship program is incredible because it's literally that. It's the rocket takes off and then comes back down and lands. And you're like, okay, well, there's that. You know, all of his rockets have been taking off and landing, and never expected to see that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
So cool to see that. Yeah, let's play with that a little. If you've got that document, go ahead and send it to me, and I'll see if any stories, like your little your treatment. Send me your treatment.
Yeah, right now it's just I just have the title, the subject, a rough plot summary.
You know what? Maybe we should
places essentially, and I have a little bit of backstory for both of those places.
Nice.
So.
Yeah, right. Frank Larson's ships. Yeah, I agree. I was only going to run for until 10 o'clock today.
Okay.
So that we can get going and get back to cracking down on work and stuff like that. But more importantly, I have a bunch of things on my list now. Yeah, it's Alexa telling me I've got things to do, but I've got a bunch of things that require me to leave because I've got to get these. I've got to print more of these sheets for one.
I have to mail out stuff, and I have to go to the dreaded Walmart.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than going to the dreaded Walmart. Oof.
I no joke. I do not like. I'm one of those people. I really do not like Walmart.
Yeah,
shop.
I try to avoid it too. My wife is too.
It's just the only reason why I'm going to Walmart is I have a gift card.
And Brent has to go to sleep. He really does. Actually, one of the reasons I wanted to move this a little earlier is because Brent works night shift. And I like the idea of him being able to join me for a while. And if I move it earlier, he can go to sleep and be a normal human. So, yeah, I know it's only a 2-day work week for you, Britt, but you also have to get up for your kiddo when school's out. So I know that. And so if I can put you to bed at a reasonable hour, things are good. So anyway, that's always a plus. So what is your plan for the next week?
Get organized.
Yeah, me too. I think I spent most of this week getting organized, and I think next week I can get back to regular work.
I actually have to move to colors on Earth Cow stuff. I've been putting that off all week. I got the inks approved for one card, and I haven't sketched out more on the other card. And then I have to do some scenery work on a new part of the project for MetaZoo. But I'm not really going to go into depth on what that is right now at the moment, because I don't think I'm allowed. And then basically I just need to start drawing comics instead of writing them
Yeah.
constantly.
I need to start writing comics now that I've got nobody here. The writing is the hardest thing for me. If you come in and interrupt me in the middle of trying to settle in and get into the mindset, I just become a flighty mess again. And then I have to take 30 minutes to settle back in. And when you have an 11-year-old every 5 minutes going, Dad, can I do this? Dad, what about this? Dad, there's no way I can make it. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting when I become a parent and have to do all of what I do, and plus that's going to be interesting. That's definitely going to be a learning curve for me.
I agree.
So, but yeah, no, I was just like, I didn't know what was going on, but like, as you are aware, there's been several occasions where I have gone, hey, let's do this. And it's like 9 o'clock and I'm like, hey, what?
Yes, he is. He just turned 11 in February.
Happy birthday.
I know. Yeah. I have an
Every
11-year-old.
year their child gets older, the parent feels older.
Right. I was having quite the experience of that, with my dad in the hospital, and my dad's 79 now. And that was his big thing. He wanted to make it because his grandfather died at 78. And so he wanted to make it to 79 just to beat his grandfather. So, yep. Yeah. I think there's a whole bunch of them that are in this clump of right here at 10 and 11. So,
yeah.
But yeah, he wanted to make it to 79. He made it to 79. Now I'm kind of seeing whether he can make it to 80. That'd be kind of cool.
I mean, my grandfather. Okay, so my family, and I'll try to wrap this up. My family, it's very weird. My great grandfather, he retired, and not even a year later passed away.
Right.
My dad basically was like, I don't want to retire, blah, blah, blah. That's what kills the men in this family.
Yeah. Well,
my grandfather finally retired, and then he got lung cancer, and then he got COVID, and then he passed away. So, like, literally, I'm just like, all right, well, obviously, when I'm in my 80s and 90s, I just have to be healthier.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is that I think that it'll, well, first of all, you and we're not the kind of people to retire. Because if we said, that's it, I'm not doing any more comics. Well, except this one. I mean, that's just what's going to happen to you and me. I will literally die with a pin in my hand. I know it.
I think that the day that, like, basically someone's like, maybe you shouldn't do like any type of artwork anymore, is the day when I realize I can't hold my pen straight. I can't even hold a brush. Yeah. I can't even move my arm.
I think even then, as long as I've got my brain, I will then start writing prose. I think that's what will happen. I'll just switch to prose. And then, once I can't draw anymore, I'll just be working prose. And then once I'm done with that, if my brain goes away, I hope that's pretty much the end of me anyway. I'd hate
and I don't mind being that crazy old dude at conventions with a bunch of books.
Yeah, that's me. I'm the crazy old dude at conventions. Bunch of books. Yeah. And writing news stories all the time.
Yeah.
That's my thought. You and I aren't built for retirement. We don't have the right career.
Okay.
We don't ever retire. So
I got the pigment powder that I said the last time we talked.
Uh-huh.
I got that in.
Well, isn't that Fatal? Is that the Fatal pigment powder?
This one is.
Yes.
Yeah, this one is. This is called Poppy Red. It's highlight fast. And it can basically, it basically, if it gets on my skin, it causes irritation, like instantly.
Yep. Burns.
If it gets in my body, bloodstream, blah blah blah, like in my body at some point, yes, I would have to go to the hospital because of poisoning. So
Sounds like a good pigment to me.
yeah.
This is a good pigment to die.
I was disappointed there's no picture of a skull and crossbones on it.
Right? It should have that.
Yeah. Well, and the company I got that stuff from, they sell the original Parisian green or Victorian green.
Yeah.
And I just have to say I'm not going to buy it because it is basically pure arsenic.
Right?
But like I have a way to get true Parisian green. I'm just not going to do it.
Fair. I did think just before I had to go to Texas, I did hunt down all the Miyazaki colors. And I'm going to make myself a Miyazaki palette at some point here. That way I can do Miyazaki-esque things straight from a Miyazaki palette. I still don't think I will do that good, but I'm going to give it a shot. So when we get back to Watercolor Wednesdays, which we should probably skip Watercolor Wednesday next week, just because I've still got to get Airship out the door. So I could
no, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I could still use Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday for Airship. So
yeah.
Especially since the week following is spring break and I'm going to have everybody here again. So even though they're not going to be working on stuff and I won't have to ride herd on them, it's still going to be, somebody in here every few minutes trying to ask me questions about stuff. So,
well, with the Miyazaki palette, did you follow Urbanowitz?
No. Hey, all the lights just changed finally. So I didn't. I went and tracked it down through a bunch of different methods so that I could find the original Miyazaki palette that was sold at the Mitaka Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are 3 colors that are retired now from that set. So what I've been trying to do is figure out what those colors are so that we don't have to actually...
I can tell you.
Well, no. I know what they replaced them with. But what
No. I can tell you the original colors.
Right. I've got the colors. Now I'm trying to figure out how to get analogs so that I don't have to buy the ones that are very expensive, the tubes that are very expensive. Because that's like $700 worth of paints to make that palette work again,
In order to do the palette, it's actually $435.
You see, it's $435. So
yes.
You're like, I've tried this.
However, I actually have recreated the 3 colors in the Miyazaki palette with the I've actually successfully have recreated those 3 colors. And if you go on to Amazon.com, look for Holbein watercolors, the 70 set of 5mm tubes, that will probably cost you about half, or if not even lower than half.
Would that cover all of the ones that are in that palette?
No, but it gives you the best approximation.
Yeah.
Of everything, but like they don't sell the 5mm tubes individually. So like you're missing things like compost blue and a couple of others like it. However, you can make the 3 colors based that you'd be missing that they no longer produce.
Sure. I'm not really, what I'm looking for is to limit my palette down enough that I can do, I guess what I'm trying to do is do both a specific palette and a limited palette for general work. So my thought was I was just going to mimic the colors. So instead of getting Holbein number 275 or whatever, that one is sort of a medium green. So I'll get this medium green from somewhere else. It doesn't really matter, but at least I know I need this medium green. You know what I mean? So that's really what I'm looking for, is just to build a palette that is the same kind of colors so I can have a general palette to use whenever I'm just, I real quickly want to throw together this whatever. So I can just pull out the general palette and do that. That's really what I'm looking for. I don't need to be, oh, this is, 2 degrees off on the color wheel from the original. I don't care. That's not that specific.
Well, I mean, I'll be realistic. The gray pink is good for when you're doing shadowing. If you're trying to recreate like Miyazaki style sketching and stuff,
Yeah.
That pink shadow stuff, shadowy color that he uses very often, it's like a 10-to-1 ratio. So it's like 10 dots of like a pink from Holbein, and then 1 dot of a cool purple color.
Right.
And like that's it. That's what causes the gray color, but that's also what causes the pink color to be a grayish pink.
Right. So maybe this is something you and I can figure out at some point in time and just settle it in and do this on show. We should do this on show at some point, but not today because I'm really not into it today. It's just definitely something that I think would be fun to do. We could.
If you want, like, we can meet at Holbein, like a place that sells Holbein paint.
Yeah, like
Meinigers, or I think that's the only place that I know of in Denver that actually sells it. The downtown's location.
Yeah, you have to go to the downtown location.
Yeah. If we meet there, we can just ask them to like film us going through the colors. But it was there that I realized that the 70 color set that you can get online was like on sale. And I ended up getting that one instead of spending the $400 something. And I even showed them, I was like, is this a good deal? And they're like, you're getting 70 Holbein colors in 5mm tubes for like less than $100. That's a very good deal. I have yet to find that type of deal again.
Right. Right. Well, cool. I'm gonna get going, and
sorry, I'm talking.
We're going to have to move along. Good to see you, Brent. Always, as usual. Good to have you here. So I'll be back next week to do my normal show. Hopefully we won't have anything reorganized until Wednesday, but excuse me. That was a sudden sneeze, like sneeze attack. I was attacked by a sneeze. But anyway, yeah. And then you and I will be back together next Friday. Hopefully we will have some work to show.
Yes.
We should try to get some work to show. So anyway.
Honestly, I think we will.
I think we will too. And actually, it's something I think we should try to do every Friday too, is try to actually have work to show, because that would be cool.
I had a lot of stuff showing last week, but this week I'm lazy today.
Right. Hey, Brent, I love having you here, but if you need to go, that's cool. I get it.
Yep.
That is way awesome. So I'm glad you're taking care of people. So that's cool. Anyway, so there we go. That's what we will do. And I will see you later. And thanks, Pepper. I'll just let you go on ahead and go, because usually you sit there and you're like, I don't know what I should do. So you can hang up as soon as we go to end credits if you want. And I will see you next week. Thanks. And bye, everybody.
Bye.
End credits.